Hey guys, I hope you guys are doing really good today. I want to talk a little bit about the story behind the Tippy canoe, the video that I just made with longlining a canoe where all the water tipped out of it. There's a little bit of backstory to that. So I just want to go through, I was reading through the comments of that video. I think there was a couple of misconceptions about it. So I just want to address those and then just give you guys a little bit of backstory about the planning that went into it. I'm going to show you a little bit later in this video the weight and balance procedure that I went through to find out if the helicopter was actually capable of lifting the canoe. So first thing to address, I guess, is why did I use a canoe and why did I fill it full of water on the inside? A lot of comments were basically saying, why didn't you guys just get a 40-gallon barrel and just fill it full of water, or a certain amount of water in it? The honest answer to that is I just wanted something that was a little bit more visually aesthetically pleasing, or not pleasing but interesting for you guys. I want to be able to I want to be able to show something that has some weight. The canoe was something that was big, so it was going to be easy for you guys to be able to see and identify, and then the water in the canoe was obviously to make it to the weight. So that was the reason for having a canoe. There wasn't any real practical purpose to having it. It would have worked way better and obviously been way more efficient to actually just have water in a barrel or something like that. So I totally, fully understand that, you guys, but it was more for the visuals of it that I was using something like this. Now, just so that some of you guys are aware, this is an old family canoe that is broken. We have it just behind the hangar here as a project. Basically, it's got some cracks in it and stuff like that. So just anybody that wants to work on some fiberglass projects and stuff, it's an old broken down canoe that's not going to get used in a lake again. So just wanted to go through that. So something that I did use, because of how old it is and the middle kind of bows out, somebody talked about it could just fold up in the middle. I used a ratchet strap like this and I put it around the middle. I actually had two of them, put them around the middle, and I ratchet strapped it up nice and tight so that when the helicopter was lifting the canoe from both ends, that there wasn't any way it was going to be able to collapse in the middle. For it to collapse in the middle, it has to be able to bow out, and these ratchet straps were going to keep it from doing that bowing out. Okay. Some people were talking about the stuff that I was using to actually lift the canoe. So what I was using, I have some certified, these are older, but they're still certified longlining ropes, and they've been modified so that they have basically like a cinching capability. So I put one on either side. I balanced it out so they were equal distance apart on either side of the canoe. So the weight was actually centered technically. And then I had a 25-foot long line, again another certified long line. I used a short one just so that you guys were going to be able to see it when I lifted the helicopter up. If I would have used like a 50 or 100-foot line, when I got the canoe off the ground, you would never be able to actually see the helicopter in the shot at the same time. So I used a shorter line. On a shorter line, so there's different types of lines depending on what type of work that you're doing, long lining. So people that are going to be working in areas where there's lots of trees and stuff like that, like maybe these big trees right here, they're going to be using much longer lines. So when you're firefighting in the BC area, you're coming down, dipping into lakes to be getting your water bucket full of water, a lot of the guys are using like 200-foot lines. They'll sometimes use an actual 200-foot line, or they'll combine two 100-foot lines together. If you're doing work where there isn't much around you, a 100-foot line a lot of the time is great. 75 feet or 50 feet are common lines as well. I typically prefer long lining with a 100-foot line. I just feel like it's a good distance off the ground, keeps you away from all the obstacles around you and stuff. So that's what I'm typically using. But you can also have a short line like this, like a 25-foot, and then if you wanted to go really short, they do have basically just like a belly line. So there's hardly anything at all. You're just hooking it up pretty much. You have a little lanyard in between, but pretty much hooking up what you got, like a basket or something, right to the belly of the helicopter. So that being said, something to talk about as well is the length of the line does affect where the line will fly when it's flying in behind the helicopter. So if the helicopter is in cruise flight, if the load is very light, you may want to go with a longer line. There's more drag on it, and it gets it out further past where the tail rotor would be. If you have too short of a line, like something like a 25-foot, and you're going to be flying, if the weight underneath is fairly light, let's say that it's some light stuff that's in a net, that net could actually pull up with the wind resistance, and it could get stuck in your tail rotor if you're going too fast. Now, of course, you're going to be watching for that to make sure that's the case. If you see that it's coming up too high, then you would just slow the helicopter down a little bit so that you didn't have as much drag on it, and then it would go drop down a bit lower. So these are all different types of things to consider. Now, when I was putting the water in the canoe, something that we were noticing right off the bat is that the water, of course, wants to slosh back and forth on either side. And so when it was sitting over there, the water was kind of off to one side just because of the way the ground was sitting. So when it lifted up, it actually, the weight was actually pulling it off. Even though the two ropes were centered, the weight was actually pulling it off to one side. So as you saw, when it lifted off the ground, it lifted off uneven, and then there was no chance the water just sloshed right out of it. So it was just basically a hope that the water would stay in long enough to get the canoe off the ground. I knew that the water was eventually going to come out anyways, but that's fine. So in the future, when I do this again, I'm sure I'll do it with other objects and stuff as well, but I'm going to use obviously something that is not going to have water in it that can slosh out like this. But I wanted to try it with the Cabri. I thought it'd be fun. I thought it'd be a cool visual for you guys to be able to see it, a little bit engaging, and I think it would be interesting to be able to show you guys more different types of long lining, what long lining is used for. It's a whole huge vast part of the industry. If you guys have ever heard of helicopter firefighting, it's becoming rampant right now. Everybody's heard about all the fires that they had in Australia over the last few months. This is what they do, not this, sorry, but the water bucketing, long lining, is what they do to put out these fires. They've got airplanes as well, but any of the helicopters that are doing this, they've got two systems. Either one is going to be what they call long lining with a bucket, some sort of a Bambi bucket or something, where they'll pick up the water in a lake or a river or a swimming pool. You guys have seen this online, people picking up out of swimming pools and stuff like that, or they'll have it on a belly tank. So that some of the helicopters are being designed now that they actually have a tank on the belly, and then they have a snorkel that goes down from that, and so they actually have to hover right down low. The snorkel will suck up the water, and then they'll be able to dump that over on the fire. The airplanes have different ways as well. Some of the airplanes will come down and they'll actually continue flying. They'll get right onto the step of the floats, and then they'll actually scoop up water as they're going down a river or lake or something like that, typically a lake. Or they actually have to fly back. If it's a bigger tanker, they'll actually have to fly back to an airport, and then the tanker will get filled up, and then it'll go back and dump again. So firefighting is one of the many, many different things that you do with long lining. So I thought it'd be fun to just do a little series. It won't be in order or anything, but a little series of the different helicopters that we have, the different things that they're going to be lifting. I've got a video coming up pretty soon that I think you guys are going to really enjoy. All you motorbike lovers are going to really enjoy that one as well. So that should be coming up in the next little while. We're just doing all the planning and prep work for that right now. And so as soon as everything fits together, we're going to get out and do that one. I'm really looking forward to that one. That's going to be good. So let's have a quick look at the weight and balance, and then we will finish this video off. Okay, so something that was very interesting when I was doing the weight and balance calculations, I had to really play around with where I was going to be putting all the weight. So I wanted to get 300 pounds on the cargo hook. So there's our 300 pounds. Now I weigh 150 pounds. So if I put that in there, what you can see on the top right is that I'm out of my CFG limit. I'm not actually inside the envelope. And so what that actually means is if I were to try and take off right now with the envelope the way it is, I'm actually going to run out of cyclic room. So I'm going to be too extreme on my cyclic there. And so I'm not going to be able to actually take off and maintain the controllability of the helicopter. So, so what I had to do is I had to play around with weight in different parts of the helicopter. So what I did was I added 50 pounds to the left seat, and then I had to actually add 20 more pounds under my seat. So there we go to 170, and now you can see we're right at our max gross. 1543 is the gross, so we're actually right at the max gross, and I'm inside of my flight envelope, so the center of gravity is just within its limits. And I've got 5 pounds in the front luggage compartment where that little first aid kit is, so that's about 5 pounds. So that was what I needed to do to be able to get this thing within its limits. So I had to play around with that, put some weight underneath the seats so that I could actually get the thing within its envelope. It was kind of interesting, but it was a fun little test to be able to see if I wanted to put that much on the cargo hook, what it would actually take. Another thing that someone actually asked about was the cargo hook, how much it was rated for. So Gimbal actually made this beautiful tiny little cargo hook, not very expensive, which is really awesome. And it's actually rated up to 485 pounds. So well within those limits, really, really nice. All right, that's it for me today, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. I hope it answered some of your questions. If you did like it, please give it a thumbs up. Share it with somebody who you think would find this interesting. We're gonna talk to you guys on the next video. See ya.